It's Charles. Welcome to the Ruben Lyron Healer channel.
Thanks for having me. The delay.
I can hear you laughing on the phone. That is so funny. Yeah, the delay is driving me crazy a little bit, but it's not gonna beat me. It's not gonna beat me. Okay. I wonder if people can still scroll us, even though the screens are like this. That's interesting.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure
still
about that.
looks the same. It's just like split screen. Like when you scroll up, you can see too, like the same way you see it on your phone.
Cool. But this is really cool that you can do this.
This session is going to be about patience. I can see. I speak and I'm like.
But I'm probably gonna have to like just watch the video back to hear what you're saying, no, because I'm not hearing it in real time.
That'd be so bad because I wonder if there's another way
All
for you
right.
to.
Oh, so yeah. So welcome, Curtis. So Curtis, do you want to say a few words? Do you want to introduce yourself?
There's nothing much about me other than my name is. No, I just say I'm Curtis Charles. I guess I'm an artist, and like you can find my socials through my channel. But I'm Ruben's cousin, and I don't know. I'm just here for some insight to talk about, I guess, spiritual awakenings and I guess share some of my own personal experiences and shared experiences, and yeah, just see where it goes. But there should be lots of insights, I'm sure. Delayed insights.
Thank you for the introduction. All right, so let's have a look at our opening for this video. So this video or the stream is about spiritual awakenings. Okay, so let me find my. All right, so when people talk about spiritual awakenings, they usually paint a picture of peace, rainbows, sudden enlightenment. Everything's all hunky dory, but no one warns you about the terrifying reality that true awakening often feels like a psychological breakdown. I'm just going to mute that for a moment. I can hear it coming back. I'll have to remember to turn it back on. All right, I'll be. The terrifying reality that true awakenings often feel like a psychological breakdown. It begins by stripping away your sense of control, shattering your identity, and leaving you completely ungrounded in a world that suddenly feels fake. If you feel like you're losing your mind instead of finding your peace, you aren't failing, you are right in the thick of it. In part one of this stream, me and Curtis, we are going to expose the hidden traps. We're going to talk about some of the difficulties, even spiritual psychosis. So we're going to learn about what that is and like what a real spiritual awakening and dark night of the soul looks like. So stick with us if you want to hear about this. Hear the brutal truth of what actually it takes to wake up. Okay. Right, let me come. Curtis, I'm coming back to you.
It's fine.
Right, Curtis. So, is there anything that you want to add into that?
But I only came for a little over half because it cut off after when you started speaking.
Oh, so you didn't hear that little introduction?
It just I heard the end, towards the end, but yeah, I cut off.
Oh my god! All right, I'll read it again just in case, because that is so crazy.
Yeah, I got kicked out. I was like, "What's going on?"
All right. I'll mute it again. Right. So spiritual awakening. So this stream is about spiritual awakenings. When people talk about spiritual awakenings, they usually paint a picture of peace, rainbows, love, and sudden enlightenment. But no one warns you about the terrifying reality of what an actual spiritual awakening does look like. Often it can feel like a psychological breakdown. It begins by stripping away your sense of control, shattering your identity, and leaving you completely ungrounded in a world that suddenly feels fake. If you feel like you're losing your mind, instead of finding your peace, you aren't failing. You are right in the thick of it, of the spiritual awakening. In part one of this stream, which we'll do today, me and Curtis were going to expose the hidden traps, the spiritual psychosis, and the brutal truth of what it actually feels like and what it takes to wake up. Okay,
Yeah, that's
so I'm
great.
going to head back to Curtis. Hopefully, you heard me this time.
I did.
All right, would you like to add anything to that, Curtis?
No, definitely. I think that gives a really good overview of what we're gonna go through.
We're gonna have to start. You're gonna have to start nodding, and we're gonna have to start nodding and shaking our head to each other. Did you hear it that time, Curtis?
I'm like, thumbs up.
This is so funny.
Oh,
Oh, I did. He heard it. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
see, it's super
All
good.
right. So we'll try do the questions with this delay. All right. So we'll try and navigate the questions. Bloody Mercury in retrograde, man.
That set you up.
Okay. All right. So question number one. Why does the universe seem to require a devastating or catastrophic life event just to force our soul to open up? What are your thoughts about that, Curtis?
So, I guess I think, especially in the early, I think the earlier stages when you come into like spiritual awakening or anything, or within delving into like spiritual work and things like that. That's one of the main experiences that make you recognize like what is happening to you, because I mean it's a lot to do with when a big experience happens. What happens is it like that's where your sense of control is kind of shaken, because a lot of people, or a lot of everyone goes through life, and then you have like aspects of your life that you think you can control. So when anything kind of dramatic or devastating happens, it's really just um the the light shining through the wound, basically, just to be able to kind of get you to go more, to get you to kind of be more introspective and to kind of dig deeper and to open up to kind of the messages that you might not be hearing completely. And I don't, I also want to add as well that it's not always the case. A lot of the time it can look like you no longer resonating with something anymore, and then you take the necessary steps to what you need during that journey that you're going through. But a lot of the time, or at least the most recognizable times, is when there is something kind of traumatic happening, or a major loss, for example, like a loss of a family member or a loss of a job or a breakup.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So have a little bit of water.
And I've got
And
my
it's just like anything in our spiritual journey, it's like it's not just something that happens to you overnight. So you're not just overnight suddenly like a spiritual guru or an enlightened being. Like you start at A and you end at C, or rather, maybe not in a linear way. Maybe not looking at it in a linear way. More like a circle or some sort of spiral or something something
uh,
like that.
the
But
spiral.
I feel like the important thing is just that we're moving, and it's just not, if you're like stagnant, then you're not a spiritual being. But if you're moving and spinning and working on yourself, then you are spiritual and awakening.
Yeah. The spiral is a really good example. There was one example I came across where it shows the spiral. Lots of time when people think about a spiral, they think of it kind of being in one position and going round over, kind of like in a circle over and over again. And that can look like revisiting like traumatic scars over and over and over again. But if you look at it as like a spiral that's going up and expanding round, um, in fact, I could draw it actually. That might be a good thing. There was an example where they did, where it was like a circle, like it was like, oh, it was saying that like this is something that's a circle. Say this is your circle, and then something traumatic happens to you here. Then what happens is sometimes it looks like revisiting, but you see how like you keep on going round like the same spot, and like eventually it kind of like goes out to a point where you no longer experience that trauma. You just kind of keep on expanding and growing and going upwards. So the spiral is a good example of it.
I see. Actually, you've just brought brought back something to my you brought something back which I completely forgot about, which is also relevant to this. It's like the different levels of like consciousness and vibration.
Mhm.
Like everyone has like a vibrational energy. They're somewhere on a scale. So you have like really lower vibrations, and so that's people and beings who are sucking lower planes or sucking lower energies and feelings. So that's stuff like sadness, depression, loss, s- caught in caught on materials like greed, all of that sort of stuff. So that those people and those energies are on there, and then the scale moves upwards. And the higher you get up the scale, the closer you get to enlightenment and to source. Basically, you get back to source and the divine by going up the scale, and that is just by like changing how we're being mindful of our energy and our emotional state, and doing the best that we can, like putting in that self-care, making sure that we are vibrating high, putting in the good food, like looking at what we consume. Like, are you consuming good food? Are you consuming good drinks? Are you consuming good media? All of this stuff, what you put into your body is all going to affect your vibrational state.
Yeah, I think that really comes into kind of the how conditioning can affect you as well, because a lot of the kind of lower vibrational things that we think of or go through on a day-to-day like basis is a lot of the stuff that has already been there from like being born, and like the lessons that you kind of have to go through, I guess, to get to enlightenment, if you're going to call it that, is kind of um, learning how to kind of recognizing the conditionings, or recognizing a lot of the coding that's been given to you, and then learning how to recode them. and then that also can when you start to kind of recognize those things as well, that's when you can end up being in the paradox of like everything is an illusion, or I have control but I don't have control. Things like that tend to happen. And then I also think that that's when it can bring the other more dangerous side to a spiritual awakening, is because look, what I think what happens with a lot of people is they go, well, obviously I want to be in high vibrational, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and meditate and stay in like a happy mood, and I'm always going to like feel love and bliss. And I think people think, when people think about gurus, they think that to reach enlightenment, that's the only, like the ultimate state of being is just only experiencing like like those two emotions. But ultimately, the the other side of spirituality, what spirituality teaches you as well, is that you are here to have a human experience. So you're going to always go through different emotions and different experiences, because you're human and you're here to learn a lesson. If you was to be in a constant state of like bliss, or being with the more source energy or the highest version of yourself, you wouldn't be um experiencing life the way that it's supposed to be experienced. You wouldn't be learning the lessons that you need to learn. And I've learned that the hard way through my spiritual awakening, where I think, oh, I'm doing amazing, and then like you have like the tougher days, or the low vibrational days, should I say?
Okay. Sorry, it was funny. I'm looking at you on the screen and you're still talking, but you stopped. The delay, one sec.
No, it's fine. You make me
Okay.
thirsty.
Let me have a look at the next point. So the next point that I wanted to make was something very interesting that I came across recently.
Yeah,
The thing that I came across that was that in the in the spiritual world, there's something that's not very talked about very often, but it's about the spiritual bond between a grandparent and a grandchild, or a grandparent and their grandchildren. So there's a very powerful spiritual bond, and it the reason why that there is this powerful bond, yeah, that grandparents they want to like nurture and look after and protect, but there's also a spiritual side to it. So this is what we're going to be talking about. So it's a natural connection that a grandparent and a grandchild has, because the grandparent they're heading back to spirit soon. So they're heading back to spirit soon, and the grandchild they've newly just came out of the spirit world. So because of this, this is like the common ground that you have energetically. That's a common ground that you have with your grandparent, and that's why there's a powerful bond. And the grandparent teaches you about the spiritual world. So that's why a lot of us we learn our spiritual beliefs, we learn about God, etc., and other spiritual beliefs. We learn this from grandparents, and I found that very interesting because that was definitely my experience. Is there
yeah,
anything that you'd like to add to that, Curtis?
yeah. I know, definitely. I can agree. I think we both relate on that subject anyway, because a lot of a lot of my teachings and like understanding uh of God, or just like the spiritual realm, definitely started with like our nana, and just like listening to how she spoke about God and angels, and the spiritual world, and her spiritual experiences. So I definitely think that's interesting. I like the I guess the opposing sides of it is like they're revisiting like the spiritual realm as we've just come into it. So that is really interesting. I definitely need to look into that more myself as well. But yeah, 100%. I always definitely say that Nana was a big um, maybe the main person for me to who kind of made me recognize more like about God and trying to understand. But obviously, Nana's lens was more of a Christian lens, which is fine because like now what happened was that allowed me to kind of um, like kind of growing up in a when we was younger as well allowed me to kind of question things and make me a bit more introspective, which I guess has brought me into a more spiritual way of thinking and looking into things and looking at how I look at the world and God and everything that there is more really. But that's interesting.
Okay, let me have a look at the next point. So what's sorry if you've already answered if if you've already given a similar answer to this question, but the next question is what specific crisis or big event shattered your reality and triggered your awakening?
Um, I think I've had loads. I mean, I just want to speak about like
You've
lots
had
of like
loads.
yeah. I mean, I feel like
Oh
I've had
God.
stuff that have been like that have triggered kind of like a spiritual awakening. But I guess one of the main ones we can talk about, I guess, and also jumping off of the last point was also just the loss of our nana, because what that did ultimately was it that the way I see it now, looking back to how things was before that happened, it was I had an idea of what life was like prior, like I was used to life being a specific way. I was used to relationships being a specific way. I was used to everybody playing that the role that they played within your life, whether that's parent and sibling or auntie and or uncle. And what that did was because it things like that have to happen in order to kind of make you look at like your life and your friends and your family from a different perspective. When like big events like that happen, you tend to see how differently people react, how you react to certain things. You might surprise your like you might surprise yourself and find out more things about yourself. It might take you time. It typically takes you down like a long route and path of like really deep introspection. At least that's what I've been realizing with a lot of my spiritual awakenings. Normally, you're just kind of living life and doing everything routinely, and then like a really big event, like the loss of a family member, will make you all of a sudden turn inwards on yourself and start to ask a lot of questions, and then that causes you to kind of um, just that can cause a lot of things to just change in general, not in only your life, but like your environment, your friends, your family, where it might cause you to move in a specific way, but ultimately it's in a way that is supposed to happen so that you can have certain understandings and awakenings from that point.
Yeah. So for I can obviously relate to like
Hmm.
what you said, or to definitely your experience because we're cousins, so we lost our nana at the same time. And yeah, that was for me definitely one of the first big awakenings because we'd had like smaller ones, I guess, because like when we lost granddad, that
Yeah,
that was very upsetting, but we didn't have that same bond with granddad, bless him.
yeah,
So when
that's
we did lose nana, when nana went to heaven, it was just like the whole ground was like pulled from underneath you, and it was just like in so much pain, all of the family was in so much pain because we all loved Nana so much, and it was just like you couldn't imagine like what the future's going to look like with Nana not being with us and guiding us and giving us her love. So yeah, that was definitely a trigger, and that was a very very big powerful event, which kind of like sent me down something. I've always been into spiritualism, but I guess that was more incentive for me to get more deeper into it and to learn more about the spirit world and to find a way to reconnect with Nana's soul, bless her.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like that's always it's always the toughest part, like because we've after obviously us well not losing Nana, we just lost Nana in the physical sense. Like after losing Nana in the
Yeah,
physical
and the
sense, that
physical.
tougher to kind of like it's difficult to kind of imagine your life without it, especially when it's been such when someone like Nana was such a prominent figure within our life. So it ultimately changed the family's whole dynamic permanently. Like to this day,
Yeah,
the family dynamic has completely changed. Not in a way that um, is negative per se. I would say. I think in the beginning it felt very negative because it just took away a lot of what we knew. It's like your ego, you're used to things being in a specific way and things going and expecting certain things. So when you lose somebody like Hanana, who was really like the glue of like their family and the dynamics, and I think what's weird about Nana being like the glue of the family as well was that nobody knew prior that Nana was the glue of the family. It's just like as soon as the glue is gone, all of a sudden everything scatters and shifts and moves,
yeah,
and it brings out a lot of just crazy emotions and different feelings, and people begin to change out of like the heartbreak and like I think grieving someone and losing someone really changed you a lot. Nana was definitely my like the first person for sure where I really just felt that that massive shift in just family dynamics and spirit and like also my spiritual understanding, but also made me more in tune with it because I was very very aware of everything that was happening before it happened. While it was happening, it made me be more in tune with like the spiritual world. And then even with like the loss of my dad recently in like the recent years, that's really made me go on like a whole new journey where I'm literally like changing, moving away and changing aspects and figuring out relationships and dynamics and how I view myself and how I can how I view specific things, and it just really kind of brings you closer to, the spiritual side of the world. I think, and that's what that does really.
something that's really interesting. There's a comment from somebody who's watching, and they've just said, could you sing Purple Rain, please? Can you sing Purple Rain?
Yeah, that's a Nana's thing because her colors, well, her name is Violet, so
Yeah, so
anything.
that's funny. I remember, yeah, that
Yeah,
I do quite like that song.
that's
Purple rain, purple rain. What you not gonna sing?
you're gonna pay
You
me
would
though.
all. The funny thing is, actually, Curtis, you would always say that you was Prince. Or what was it? I'm sure you would always say that, like, out of the two of us, you was more like Prince.
But I think I have like a spiritual connection with Prince. Like
How was
people
my
always say that.
phone just
What happened to you?
split? I don't know how my phone has just decided to flip itself.
It's for living room.
That is so bizarre. It just flips itself.
But no,
Okay, all right. We'll leave it that way. We'll leave it that way because I don't want to risk disconnecting the stream or something like that.
that's so funny.
That is so bizarre, though. I don't know how it just flipped itself around, but whatever. Okay. But yeah,
But
so
yeah, no,
Purple Rain. I don't know all those lyrics, but did you feel like singing any of it, Curtis?
and I was laughing. I was like, you have to pay me for that. People, I think I was saying that I was like, I think I have some sort of spiritual connection with Prince, and I think this all the time because people always think that I look like him. We always say I look like a Prince and Beyonce look
I can
like.
definitely see that.
It's a compliment to me. I'm always like, I'm not gonna start comparing ever like compare myself to Prince because I'm always like it's Prince. You know what I mean? Like there's more talent in his freaking little finger than I have. But I love it. I love the tie. And then obviously we're talking about Nan, so that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a look at those lyrics actually. Let's have a quick look at those lyrics because I only know the
Mhm.
chorus really. And Purple Rain. I know we've kind of strayed from the topic a little bit, but we'll bring it back.
It's fine.
Purple Rain lyrics.
That's not my favorite.
Says, I never meant to cause you any sorrow, never meant to cause you any pain. I only ever wanted to see you laughing. No, did I say it? I skipped ahead there. I only wanted one time to see you laughing. I only want to see you laughing in the purple rain, purple rain, purple rain,
Mhm.
purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. I only
And
want to see you bathing in the purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. But yeah, beautiful song.
I love that song.
But the lyrics are very much just. I wonder how many times he says "purple rain" in that song.
That's funny. That's true. Actually, I never thought about that.
Somebody ask AI and let us know. That is so funny.
I often check myself, but I can't. I don't want to risk it.
But yeah, "Purple Rain," amazing song. We do love that song, and it like for a lot of people in our family, like that's one of the first songs that comes to mind for Nana. Not just because Nana loved that song, but it's mainly just because it's got purple in the name.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like even the color purple that's so funny. The color purple and violet obviously just always just reminds us of that. Like anytime I like want a sign from or like not even want a sign or I know there's a sign from Nana, I will always see a rainbow or because I remember when I was talking to Nana one time when I was a kid, we were speaking about the colors in the rainbow, and she'd always be like violet. So anytime I see a rainbow, I'm always like, "Oh, Nan's here." And then also purple rain, just seeing anything purple around, purple lights, purple flowers. That's like in my proximity, and the Adams Family soundtrack as well. It happens all the time to me. Like we was, I think I was talking about when I went to Mexico recently with everyone, and I was talking to, and I told mom about it. I was like, oh, anytime, like Nan's around or she's trying to show us a sign, I will either see rainbow or something purple, or it will be the Adams Family soundtrack. And then that night there was there was doing like a there was doing like a movie guest night or something, and then there was like trying to guess like I think the movie soundtracks, and then they played the Adams Family soundtrack as we was walking past, and I was like, "I'll see," and I was laughing.
Adam's Family. God, that movie does remind me of Nana. Oh, Nana really did introduce us to some really good movies, like Adam's Family. That's such a classic. And the
I,
moral of the story is, don't try to be like everyone else. Like,
mhm,
don't be afraid to stand out. And like the people who are like leaning into their differences are the people who are closer to the spiritual awakening, which is
mhm.
just a little side
That's it.
note there. But
Like Adam's Family is really a good example of that. Like our family is very much the Adam's Family. It is.
definitely, oh my gosh. Like, oh, like, if you were in, which character do you think you're most like? That's an interesting question.
In Adam's Family, I think everyone now would say Wednesday because obviously everyone watches
That is so true. Like, everyone would be leaning towards
Wednesday.
that.
Yeah, everyone's watched Wednesday and everyone like relates to her character. But I think maybe I would say maybe Morticia, and it's more about I think it, and that's more to do. She just reminds me so much of like Scorpio energy. I think anytime I would think
Yeah.
if I was to say what is Scorpio energy, I'd be like Morticia Adams from Adam's Family. Do you know what I mean? Like the seductiveness, but in a subtle way. She's dark and mysterious, but she's also like got like a glow about her. Um, that normally you would only get like if you would see someone who's really colorful, but she's still like really dark. And so I'm like, that's like Scorpio energy. That's very me.
See, for me, it's a difficult question, that one. Because I would maybe lean towards Wednesday, but I don't think I'm nowhere near as dark as Wednesday is. But I think I do have like that. She's kind of got like sort of an artistic vibe to her. So I think that's kind of where I would lean into it. But I would maybe
That's,
say a cross
yeah.
between Wednesday and maybe Uncle Fester or something.
I say oppressive, but that's what I was thinking.
That is so crazy. Oh my god. That is such a tangent. All right, let's go to the next question because we could be here all night. All
That is funny.
right, so the next question. So, how long did your intense awakening phase actually last, and when did it finally stop feeling like chaos?
And so yeah, this is a really good one to get into because when you asked me this before, I had to think about it because I was like, when did it end? And and then I realized it's not it's more so about it's not really about it ending because it's not that it ever really ends. It just stops being such the promise like the most prominent focal point during that time period. I think what happens like with whatever you're going through, you will look back. There's a time where you look and you go, oh, this is what's been happening to me. Like I've just been going through this, and this is why I've been going through this. But I kind of say it's like when it technically feels like it's ended or whatnot, it's more when you stop fighting against like the current. It's like when you start to go, you recognize it for what it is, and you're no longer fighting against the current and going with the flow. But I wouldn't say that it necessarily ends because it makes it seem like there's like a vacational side to spiritual work. Like that's what I wanted to say. It's like when you get into spirituality, it's a lot of it's there's always some sort of a test. There's always a lesson. It's work. It's spiritual work. It's not spiritual vacation. And like I've definitely had like times where like I've just wanted to kind of not be learning something or not like experiencing something in a spiritual awakening. Like this is kind of like the best time for me anyway, because I'm going through like a massive spiritual awakening with my Saturn return. But like even when I went on holiday recently with like my family, and I thought finally I can kind of just get away from like life and society and blah blah blah, and just kind of like go enjoy like the sun and weather and drinks and stuff. And it was a lot of that, but a lot of it was still a lot of spiritual work, spiritual lessons, trying seeing how I'm integrating my lessons that I've learned from moving away and coming back to like my families, and how I operate in a different space now that I've kind of um evolved evolved a bit more spiritually, because I think and I always think that's one of the main lessons as well, especially when you have like um a big spiritual lesson. You typically are dealing with it by yourself, but one way to really the universe can really test you on whether you've really truly integrated those skills is by putting you back in an old environment, or an environment with the people that are used to you being a specific way. And what's like how what's gonna happen, like are you gonna switch back to kind of like your older ways of thinking, and like how are you going to react? And that's definitely one thing that I've realized just recently, is that there's not ever like an off button really. It's just more about learning to go with the flow and not fighting against the currents.
That was very good advice. I was Something came to me, but I kind of forgot it. Oh gosh, my
That's, and in case I think about something and then I need to say it. Um, but no, what would you say? Like what like in terms of like when you feel like it ends for you, or or when it gets like easier.
wow,
The comments. uh,
wow, people hating. Wow. Okay, okay. So people just got too much time on their hands. Right, so let's have. We've not really talked about Dark Night of the Soul that much. Not that unless you talked about it before we could hear you.
Not exactly. I feel like at any time I've only kind of bounced around it.
Actually, I might have actually put that into one of my questions. I think it might come up a bit later. Let me have a look at my question. So the last question was, how long did your intense awakening phase last? When did it finally stop feeling like chaos? Oh, so yeah, I think that's what I was gonna just add into that. Like what you were saying, for me, it just didn't feel like awakening stop, start so much. With me, spiritual awakenings feel more like an onion. So it's like you're peeling off layers at a time. So you have one layer of the awakening, and then another and another, and it's just peeling this onion off
Hmm.
to probably just get
I,
to the center of yourself, your soul. But yeah, that's
yeah,
what spiritual awakenings feel like for me. It just feels like rather than stop and start, it feels like you're just shedding a skin or shedding a layer of something that's false or something that's not needed, or yeah,
yeah,
just letting go of stuff.
yeah, definitely.
So let's go with the next question. So before we give the next question, I just wanted to just point out a, a statistic that which I found. It says 1 in 5 of us will experience a psychological crisis, and this figure is rising rapidly. So that I believe that research took place about maybe 10 to 12 years ago. So that figure is more likely one in 4 of us, or three even now,
Mm.
seeing as that was quite a long time ago. And the mental state of mental health. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but in the UK, it's quite shocking. Okay, so
Yeah.
the question is, at what point does an awakening cross the line into a dangerous spiritual psychosis or a complete psychological dissociation?
Yeah, I think this is a good one because I think I've definitely bounced around in this area a few times without recognizing, because I think when what happens, especially when you first have like, it might be like your first instance of like your spiritual awakening, you can get almost obsessed obsessed with like the with being in this the spirit, the more of the spiritual realm, and understanding things, and you go through obviously a large period of time of wanting to um understand everything, and then what happens within that time is you normally then things happen where you can kind of start to reject reality. You look at everything as like false, like you feel like no one really understands the how you operate, how the world operates, and then you start to kind of, um, I guess, no longer play like the game. One of like the most like triggering senses, like you no longer, um, you stop playing the game of life, and you start to kind of reject it and over consume too much of the spiritual side of things. I explain it as kind of like, with me, because I guess it's not something I necessarily struggle with per se, but I can feel a shift in it. I kind of explain it being like a seesaw. So it's like when once you've come from just living in a specific state for a long period of time, and then you shift to the spiritual world, you kind of start to get a bit unbalanced and then lean a bit over to this side, and then sometimes it can rock back and forth.
Yeah, it's it's a it's a difficult question, this one. So like, because the rate of like disturbance or mental health disturbance which it's talking about is talking quite
Mm,
severe. So that's the sort of thing that you don't see very often. So so maybe if you like look at like a horror movie or something like
yeah.
like a spiritual possession, something like where like someone's like completely gone batshit crazy, like they're off, they've completely just blown off the handle, and they they can't come back down to earth, they can't ground themselves and can't connect to source. So that's the kind of spiritual psychosis which this question kind of warning us about. But I guess it's not something that would happen for all of us very often. But when you look at when you look at the high numbers of people with mental health, like a lot of the professionals now, I'm actually noticing that this spiritual psychosis is an actual thing. They're noticing that some people actually are suffering from a spiritual psychosis. It's not just your run of the mill mental health condition. So spiritual psychosis is uh, it
Yeah.
is recognized by a lot of health professionals.
Hmm.
And
Well, you know, 'cause
dissociation, literally, for me, dissociation, I literally dissociate literally every couple of minutes. Literally, all I need is for someone to talk to me, and I've just dissociated, and I'm away with fairies, and I'm kind of in my own world, and I've not heard what the other person said. So dissociation is something that's quite easy for me. Like, but psychological dissociation. Yeah, I can't really put my finger on that. I don't think I've experienced that. Oh, then again, yeah, then again, I think probably the closest thing for me is probably like again. like when we're talking about the very traumatic experiences of like losing a loved one, so like when losing Nana or when I lost my familiar Lulu. When I lost her,
Yeah.
I think I did at one point. I was so close to having a mental breakdown. I literally would. There was one point where I just like screamed and shouted so freaking loud in the flat, and the neighbors probably thought, "What the hell's going on?" But I literally just got back from the vet after they put her down, and I had like I dissociated, and I was like didn't give a fuck about anything. Like life just felt meaningless. Everything just felt like shit, and I just screamed. And I'd say that's the closest I've probably came to that psychological dissociation.
No, no, bless you. Yeah, no, because I mean something like that's typically it typically can just look like very normal things like that as well. That's why when a lot of people struggle with um depression and stuff, it looks, I guess, like the spiritual psychosis can just look very human. Do you know what I mean? It can just look like, not wanting to go to work, not wanting to socialize, not wanting to shower or eat, things like that. And then I think there's like lots of different like aspects to it as well, because I've definitely I definitely say there's been a few times where I've been in a spiritual psychosis, but a bit of a more like, but more serious ones, but without recognizing. And it's but um not in that way specifically where it's been. I've definitely been had lots of like depressive like moments and things like that that I can speak of, but where but to speak more on like where I've had a really clear like spiritual psychosis, and I've been going through it, and then I've not recognized it. It typically just looks like me being very disconnected from the world, and then also like speak when you're like not being able to kind of detach from the spirit, like the spiritual plane. Like a lot of times I'd be like trying to have conversations with people will be trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm not having a conversation with you in terms of the topic that we're speaking on. I'm talking from a different a different playing field completely. And sometimes when like you're going through that, people fully understand you. They can read between the lines. It's almost like you're speaking in code. It's almost like you're speaking in code. And then it's also there's been times where it just looks like me over consuming too much of the spiritual world. And there've been times where like the universe is saying to me very clearly, like, Curtis, it's time for you to kind of, re- reconnect back into society and do like normal everyday things and do this. And then what happens is you get kind of comfortable, you get really content with being in like that energy, or being in the state of awakening that you've been in. And then it can look like, you know a lot of people as well, from what I've seen, it can look like a god complex. So some people even think that they're Jesus, and some people like will forcefully try spread like the message, and forcefully try to save people, and forcefully trying to bring people like on the spiritual journey with you, to make them kind of recognize um, what life is truly about. And then you can get agitated with yourself, because you're just like, I see the world for what it is, and I see things how it is, and no one seems to understand. But a lot of what the spiritual journey is it's a personal journey that everyone goes through. Everyone has their own journey that they need to go through. Everybody has their own lessons that they need to integrate. And a lot of those, like you said, a lot of how that happens to you is by really big triggers that can cause it to be worse. For example, losing something like you're familiar, like a cat, like a cherished and beloved animal. It can
Yeah,
cause you to go into a really really deep traumatic space that will trigger things for you and trigger lessons for you, and then it's really hard to kind of recover from that and then resume reality, because that's always the toughest part about death in general anyway, is that when someone dies, um, the world stops for you. For you, the world completely stops, and then what will happen is you start to be really hyper aware of everything around you. You'll be looking out your window and people are still going to work, people are still getting their coffee, people are still walking their dogs. Like, the world always goes on. So it's a really tough thing for you to kind of go through when you have like a really traumatic thing. Your world has stopped, but yet the reality around you is still moving and things are still happening, and you just want to put a massive pause on reality completely. So
Yeah.
it's a really tough thing to navigate when you're dealing with your internal state, and then the external world is still operating like normal.
Okay.
And then
So
that's
how sorry, was you still talking? Sorry, I
sorry,
didn't
go on,
want to
cuz.
cut you off. Was you still talking, cuz?
No, it's fine. Go ahead. Go
No.
ahead.
So yeah, I was just gonna ask, so how do you pull yourself out of that state? So like when you're in that really dark place, what are the methods that you use to pull yourself out of it?
I think that um I've had like even difficulty even up until like recently, where I'll just be in a state where I've completely shifted one way and then I'm not coming back to like to like reality, or I'm not playing the game. But I think that the healthiest thing, especially when on like your spiritual journey, is making sure that you have that's why things like having tools in place, like making sure that you're journaling, you're making sure that you're journaling and you're checking in with yourself, and it not being a 24/7 thing that you're consciously doing. Because a lot of the time what will happen when you can get when you can get into a really bad like spiritual psychosis or religious psychosis, whatever you want to call it, because there's different things for everyone else. It really just looks like you not being able to detach from the spiritual world. Like, you're a soul having a human experience. So when you are in your human experience, and then you're trying to just live within the spiritual world and understand and trying to operate just from the spiritual world, it can become too consuming if it's like 24/7. Like, journal in the morning, journal in the evening. You can have your practices where you meditate, but you need to make sure that you're still trying to integrate yourself into society. Do you know what I mean? That looks like,
Yeah.
even if like you're in a depressive state or whatever, that just take a walk, go for a walk, go integrate yourself back into nature, like ground yourself. Like, you have to
Wow,
be
that's
it.
crazy. You've literally said
Yeah,
the points that that's literally what I did.
really, well, yeah, see, there you go. Because what it does is it takes you, it snatches you away from reality, and you don't want to reconnect with it. When you Especially when you go through like really tough lessons or things that you need to go through, you just get snatched away, and then you need to be able to go for a walk, can literally put your feet in the grass, even if it's 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, even if it's literally 1 minute of you just like going outside a day. You need to do it, because it's really easy to just close all the curtains, lock the doors, and then just be like, I'm not coming out of this. And I'm
Yeah.
stubborn as well. I'm someone who's stubborn. So because I've been through so many different spiritual awakenings and tough times now, I've I recognize that I'm going through a tough time spiritually, but I will be having like, messages from the universe, and speaking to myself, and I'm just like, no, because I need, a lot of the time I know that I need to experience those feelings. I think like you have to allow yourself to go through the emotions, experience like the anger or the sadness or the hurt and the upset, but you can't completely just not return back to reality. I've had like a definitely I always have like a tough time with like saying, okay, I need to, start going. I need to go back outside and I need to socialize and I need to talk to somebody about this. Or because I don't know, maybe it's a Scorpio thing as well, but it's like, it's a shield up where you want, it's like my armor. So it's like I'm gonna deal with this myself and then I return to society like nothing happened.
Yeah. So just looking at where we was at. All right, so the next question was, how do you recognize the moment you've become dangerously ungrounded? And so you kind of answered. Did you answer
Yeah.
that already?
Yeah, I feel like the where it's the most recognizable is when it's if you're over consuming like the spirit. That could look like watching too much like tarot readings on social media and like and constantly every single day looking for the synchronicities, looking for
Yeah, like
looking.
overkill.
Yeah, like everything is overkill, like looking for external validation. Because a lot of if you need any kind of validation or any information or knowing something, it's coming from internal. And a lot of the time, even when you're in a more spiritual state as well, um, you need to, like, everything will go quiet and go mute. And that happens specifically because it's saying, well, we're going to go quiet until you actually rejoin reality because you're not integrating it well. That's why I was saying like the seesaw. That's why I was like explaining kind of like a seesaw. Sometimes you can kind of get imbalance. It's like a lot of the time when people get into spirituality, it's just like, okay, I need to know all of this information and consume and consume and consume. But then it becomes too much every single day. I'm coming across like a reading, and then I'm not using I'm not using my own intuition. I'm not to decipher whether this message is for me. I'm just like taking it all in and taking and looking for every external answer, and I'm not like being I'm not allowing myself to just have a normal day where I just maybe go to the park and have a drink and look at some birds and people just doing normal things, or going to socialize or go to a party or go to work or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with what you've said. Like, especially parts about the tapping into your own intuition. Literally, I bang on about that all the time. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of people are always looking for somebody else to answer the questions and solve the problems, but like the intuition, your own intuition and your own guidance, it is going to be way more valuable than what anyone else can say to you. It's just a matter of learning to tap into it and recognizing it. Even when you haven't learned to use your intuition, there's always going to be some guidance there. Just a lot of people just ignore it most of the time. Like when they
yeah,
hear their intuition, they think, "Oh, no," they literally will go and do the opposite, even though they know that they've been warned about a situation, and but
yeah,
still will ignore it because it's not verified, even though it's for them, it's not like coming from a physical person, say, or it's not coming from themselves. If they was like, oh, I don't think go, I'm gonna walk down that street today. If that was your own thought, then yeah, you'd follow through with it. You wouldn't go that way. But if you get the thought in your head and it's coming from your intuition, and then you walk it anyway because you've just not validated that is coming from your intuition or coming from its guidance, which is there to help you. But a lot of people do fall into that.
mhm. And I mean, I think that's one of the most common things that people fall into as well, and that's why I think that it can get really dangerous for a lot of people, because then it can be, that's when I know you might be going on to this next, but that's normally when it leads you into more of like the fake gurus, or like people being gatekeepers, and you are using fear mongering and fear tactics to kind of scare you into choosing like a more route, because you're doing it out of fear instead of like listening to in your own intuition. And then a lot of the times, yeah, like I've definitely experienced it loads of times where I'm getting my intuition, and I'm not using my discernment, or I'm just like rejecting, and I'm rejecting it just because I'm being stubborn, and I'm wanting to be like setting my ways, or I'm not wanting to let go of control. And that's what I mean when I was saying where it looks like when you're coming out of the other side of it, it looks like you you're not you're going with the flow. You're no longer fighting with the current. All of that mess that you're going through, when things start to get really tough, or you're trying to force something, or you're just trying to make specific things go in a specific way, however you want, and everything is getting tough, it's because you're fighting against the current. That's typically what it is.
That's interesting, like, because your intuition literally brought us to the next talking point. Because the next talking point is about false, false light and fake gurus, or predator gurus, as it may be put. So, how do we stop ourselves from falling prey to fake gurus who exploit our vulnerability when our world is falling apart? So,
um
like, how
I
do
would
you spot it first? Like, how do you spot a fake guru?
For me at this point, I feel like it's so obvious to me. I don't know. I'm like, because this, because I don't know. 'Cause I feel like I, it's to do with discernment. Like I think I've always had the gift of discernment. So like I just know when something is authentic, or whether something is being used in a way to kind of be manipulative or controlling.
Yeah,
Like I do just I don't know whether like that is just like the gift of discernment, or part of like the being neurodivergent, and being able to like recognize patterns so well. Do you know what I mean? But like I'm always just like very aware, and a lot of the time, especially through like social media, when you're looking at like through social media and stuff, it is typically like fear mongering that people use. They love to be like they love to say things like yeah, comment in a message, and to be able to claim this message and stuff, or like if you don't listen to this, like this could be like your worst day, or blah blah blah. And it's like people are like, oh well, I'm just
exactly.
gonna
I
watch.
hate stuff like that.
It's just, and it's annoying because all of that to do with all of that, all the people that are doing that, it's just because they need the shares and the likes and the comments, so that like they can earn some money.
Exactly.
It's all about them earning money and gaining like a benefit from it. Like the and like a true someone who's like an authentic guru isn't even going to be trying to force you to stay, like, because they know that they're not supposed to be followed or worshipped. They're supposed to be a roadmap, or a torch, or a compass, and they're supposed to help like lead you, and you're supposed to use your own discernment to hear whether a message is actually in there for you. Because there's been times where I've come across videos, and it'd be like 3p3, and I'm like, what's this video's got nothing to do with me, and then I watch the video and something within there, I'm like, oh, that's for me. So
Yeah,
one I've taken this one piece of the pie, and I've gone, oh, thank you. And then like, I move on with my day. But a lot of the times people like take everything literal, and you're not using your discernment, and then that can lead you down like a really dangerous road where you're just kind of wanting everybody to lead the same path of you, or you're forcing people to do certain things, or you're scared if you don't do things in a specific way. Fear is never ever good. I think maybe the best way to recognize it is that, like, if it's not being led by love and light, and you're feeling scared or you're feeling
Yeah.
nervous or you're a bit just about something just feels a bit off, something doesn't
Yeah.
feel pure, then you're not in the right place and you're not supposed to be like doing that thing.
Yeah. Again, it's going back to that scale of reading reading the vibrations. Does is something
Yeah.
based really low, negative, fear, low
Yeah.
vibrations, or is it high up? Is it loving, positive, making you feel good?
Because it's very easy for people to kind of get wrapped in the world of thinking they're right also, especially when they're dealing with a lower vibrational mindset. Like there's a lot of times where you will see you will have like a conversation with someone and they're trying to, I don't know, trying to bring you to their way of thinking, but
Yeah, like
what will happen.
brainwashing.
Yeah, it's like they want to like try brainwashing it, and I'm always fine with it because what happens with me is like I'm having a conversation with them, and what will happen is it's not, I'm only thinking and coming from a place of love and light. So when it's coming from a place of like when they're trying to use an aspect of fear or guilt or shame or
Yeah,
something, affect me because I know that I just it doesn't affect me, and there's no way for them to kind of break past the barrier because I'm only going to be able to receive only the love and the light like energy frequency. But you're easily manipulated when you're feeling a bit more low yourself. That's typically how it can be a bit more dangerous as well if you're in a darker, more vulnerable mindset. But God always is coming from a place of love and light, nowhere else. It's never going to be shame. It's never going to be fear, guilt. That's not of God. And a lot of that is like, that can get a bit more difficult for people as well because a lot of like within life, there's a lot of conditioning that we go through, especially growing up with dealing with like religions and stuff and just how like that life operates and how society operates in general. There's a lot of stereotypes and ways of thinking, and a lot of the world has been built on using fear as like a tool to kind of manipulate and control people, and it's been the most uh, successful tool in history. So it's easy to fall into that trap as well.
well, you're so good at answering these questions. I feel like you literally just answered the next question too. I
Thank
feel like you
you.
answered two questions in one there.
I'm like, oh, thank you. You're
It's
welcome.
that intuition. Damn. Turned on today. Right, so let's go to another one then. Right, so what? All right, so yeah. So you more or less just answered what is the difference between authentic divine guidance and entering a false light trap. So yeah, I'm happy that you answered that question.
Well, you can answer it yourself, like however
All
like
right,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, divine guidance. So I always say that when divine guidance is coming through, or when I'm teaching channeling, I point out, I say to say for people to like put your hand over your heart, take in some breaths. So like the heart is literally one of your powerful energy centers. So when you're not just coming from the head, when you're not just coming from the mind, when you're connecting to the heart space,
Hmm.
then you're gonna know the heart's truth, and the heart the heart can tap you into the intuition a lot easier than the head can, because the head's got so much going on for it. It's got like the ego, the mind, and whatever else is just a lot of chaotic stuff going on up there. So when you tune in, so if you remember to bring everything back to the heart. So if you're picking up something, and then I like to say, I'm feeling like my heart is telling me this. My heart is telling me this, and that, and the other, and that is the heart guidance. So just remembering to bring things back to the heart. And I absolutely love what you were saying about discernment. Discernment is like such a massive, important thing, and it's guidance from spirit and stuff, just garbage which comes from lower vibrational entities, or garbage which comes from the monkey mind or the ego. So discernment is so important when you can tell the difference and tell the integrity of what's coming through. So yeah,
Hmm.
definitely very
And something,
important.
yeah,
And then
that just reminds me of something I've been looking into recently as well, in terms of like having ADHD as well, and within spirituality, is that people who typically have ADHD don't are really good with discernment, and like obviously things with like discernment because of pattern recognition as well. And also I came across something where they believe that the people who have ADHD are typically neurodivergent. They don't operate from ego, and because they have so many different thoughts as well. So they're a lot of like, especially within my mind, it's just a lot of thoughts constantly. Is kind of like the monkey brain, like on like on just like constant
mhm,
100.
yeah,
When there's like a clear, when there's like a clear message, it's like really obvious to me, because it's just really, it's just like really, it's different from all of the other like thoughts and messages that I get. And it's easy for me to decipher whether something is my ego. Like when I'm coming from a place that is like my ego as well, it's really obvious to me, because it doesn't really feel like the purest form of me, or where I'm coming from truly. It's coming from a place of just like me being jealous, or like angry, or frustrated about something.
yeah, brilliant. So the next thing I
But
wanted
yeah,
to
not
talk about was false light. So we've talked a little bit about this, like we've talked about fake gurus and false. So false light is like the next step up from like fake gurus. So false light is basically people who pretend that they're from the light, but they're actually like lower vibrational, so that the integrity is not there. That they may be working in league with like something something malevolent and nasty. So there's a lot. There's I've heard I've heard some people say, because there is a medium who I used to like watching quite a lot, and people were saying that she was operating from false light, and I'm undecided on the matter because I really liked her a lot and I really enjoyed watching her videos, but I'm just not 100% sure because I can see where they're coming from. Because this specific medium, like she was doing readings on world events, and her channel was literally like watching the news, because she was, if anything big and bad happened in any place around the world, she was talking about it and doing readings about it. And it was kind
that's
of, in a way, by like the news. Like, I literally do not watch the news because it's just so depressing and it will bring your vibration down. So in a way, she was kind of doing a similar thing by just like pointing every bad thing that's happening in the world and doing a reading about it. So I get why some people would think that she's operating from false light, but I'm undecided on the matter. But
yeah.
there's also, when it comes to false light, there's also beams that are false light as well. So some there's a because a lot of the people who are working with Star Family and with the star races, galactic races, a lot of people, or some people, are saying that Ashtar, Ashtar Sheeran, is a false light being, although they're giving some sort of separation between Ashtar Sheeran and just Ashtar Command. So it gets a little bit confusing, but these are just people who are just pointing these things out, and it seems like they're being a bit um over analytical and just going over the top a bit when you're just gonna say, yeah, there is a being who's Ashtar, and he's from the
Yeah.
galactic star races, and there's a false light being who's masquerading as Ashtar, and that's false light. Stay away from it. So it just gets very confusing when this is what
Mm.
you're getting. So when it comes to false light, yeah, there's definitely some people who operate from there when the intentions are not good, and when they're like pushing you into consuming like lower vibrational material. So yeah, that is just one of the points about false light. So Curtis, have
Yeah.
you personally come across any of these forms of false light in in people or gurus or entities?
Mhm. But no, I guess it's an interesting subject, that as well in particular, because I mean you can see that a lot in terms of how society operates anyway. I mean, even through like religion, you know what I mean. There's always the Christ, and there's always the Antichrist, and then people are like, you are, you know, you're following the wrong light. And then there's definitely been times, even in just like my um normal things, like, you know, also like obsessed with music and stuff. So, and I'm obsessed with like any Beyonce type of content, and I've had people being like, she is demonic.
Ah,
It's like,
that's
if you
hilarious.
go, like, there's hidden messages there, and there was like, I think it was for the Renaissance tour. I was like, I got like a message, and I was like, okay, I'm someone who's like, I'm very much, I love a debate. I think I love watching kind of like debate things. So I'm just like, I'm always gonna be open to the other side of the argument. I'm very opinionated, but I'm like, well, maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Do you know what I mean? So like, let me just like read this message, and it's like, okay, I allowed someone to express to me why they was feeling this way about like Beyonce's show and whatnot. And I feel like that is what happens a lot of the time, is like that's an image that is projected by a lot of people into the world, saying about, due to lots of conspiracies and other things that happen, whatever. And I was like, okay, so when I went, and I'm like, this is why discernment is really important as well, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna open up my mind to all of the all perspectives of whether this could genuinely be a really like negative experience, or whether there's like this message is being delivered through that are actually evil. And that as there was definitely lots of visual things happening, where there was messages hidden within it, but it wasn't in a way that was to like control the people in the audience. You know what I mean? Like hypnotize people in the audience. It was more about actually revealing the message about like what's happening within society, and the energy within the place as well was like very high vibrational, positive energy, filled with only love and light. And you don't know that unless you're actually there witnessing it. So when you see like the snapshots and stuff through social media, or however it is, like you're looking at it, it can be easily made to look a specific way. And a lot of people who are in like a lot of people can operate from more of like uh the true, like a true light, or from like a place where they feel is genuine, and then it changes over time to become more of like a false light, because they're using it in a way that's beneficial to them. Like you were saying about the how that the medium was using it a way to talk about, I guess, negative topics within news. It may not have been like the messages was was incorrect, or but it was being made more dramatic for
Yeah.
it's when it's almost obvious, because when it becomes like performative, it's to gain more views, to gain more money, to gain more popularity, and it's only focused on like the negative aspects. Because if you talk about the positive aspects of life, and you talk about positive subjects and stuff, you're just not going to get the same amount of attention as you do if you're reaching more of like the negative aspects, which is why a lot of like media as well, especially within the music industry, they play into like all of the negative demonic imagery and stuff, because they know that people are more drawn to it. So it's like they
Yeah.
will play into it because they need the attention from it, and essentially that is them unfortunately messing with what is considered like the false light, things like that. It just depends on how much you're a puppet within it. And I think lots of people are aware that they're puppets, and lots of people are unaware that they're actually playing a part, or being a puppet, being controlled by something else, or other people, or other light, or other energy. Um, and I guess, and only my own experiences, I guess that the um, the only time I've ever really experienced more of being influenced by more negative influences is when my energy is very in a very low state, and then that's when obviously, like I've had like been in my sleep paralysis states where it's been more of like draining energy, and it low vibration attracts low vibration. So you've kind of got to be really good at discerning.
Yeah. Definitely, because I do know like some mediums, e- especially ones who work with work with spirit guides a lot more or work with angels. You do need to be like checking the credentials of these angels or these
Hmm.
beings, because it's. I'm not saying that you can commune with angels or spirit guides. That's the opposite to what I'm saying. I'm just saying everyone needs to just be asking important questions like, are you are you in alignment with spirit? Are you aligned with source, with God, the divine? Are you in alignment with that? Are your intentions pure? You just need to just ask these clarifying questions, because like when it comes to like channeling entities, they can't lie. Not 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 if you're thorough about it. Maybe they'd lie maybe once or twice, but if you keep on grilling them to get to the bottom of who you're communing with, they will eventually have to tell you the truth. So that's why
Hmm.
it's just important if you're working with a new entity, just ask a lot of clarifying questions to make sure you are communing with who you think you're communing with. It's kind of like, in a way, a bit like when people use a Ouija board. When people use a Ouija board, you you can get through to anyone or anything pretty much, and 9 times out of 10, like the name that it gives is not what you're talking to, and that's not just to scare people, because all of these things can be used in a good way, but it's just you just need to use things the right way and make sure that you have sufficient protection and you're using your discernment. That's that's the point I'm
Yeah.
making, not to scare people.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. It's more about just making sure that you are doing it with. You have to be sure of the intention behind it as well. I just think it's making sure you're protected and having really strong discernment, and making sure that you also using your own discernment. So, say even if you are, speaking to an angel or whatever, when this message is being delivered to you, what do you think you need to be able to feel it within yourself, like what the intention of that
Hmm.
message is, and how it's going to impact other people. um and a lot of times people don't do that. They will take they will experience something like that for the first time, and then they won't fully understand it, and then they just will be like shocked, and then they just run with it and then roll with it, and that's how. But I feel like it's a lot more difficult when you're um, going to and you're doing a lot of spiritual practices that protect you, and you're strengthening your discernment, things like that.
So, going back to the Dark Night of the Soul, so I'll do a quick explanation about the Dark Night of the Soul for anyone who doesn't know what it is. So, the Dark Night of the Soul is kind of like, well, it is like a spiritual awakening that we have, but it isn't. It isn't like a fluffy rainbows and sunshine sort of spiritual awakening. That Night of the Soul is like when something big and traumatic has happened, something which is like life changing, life shattering, and like losing losing some losing someone or a job or something big happening which is just out of the blue, something very tragic, and it breaks your heart. And then you go into this state which is called dark night of the soul. It's where you feel like everything in life has lost its meaningless. Like, why should you care about anything? Like, n- you may feel like everyone else is against you. Like you don't have anywhere to turn to. You don't have anyone, or there's nothing good left in the world. You just feel like everything is just rubbish. So when you're in that very overwhelming state, that is the dark night of the soul. Again, it sounds very close to a depression.
Yeah.
So Curtis, is there anything that you can remember about experiencing Dark Night of the Soul that you've not already mentioned?
I guess one of the um, I think because I've definitely experienced the Dark Night of the Soul plenty of times. I mean, because I've
Mm,
had dealt with what I thought was depression within like within my past, but I think a lot of what is happening within the Dark Night of the Soul is you're it forces you to you're forced into breaking a lot of whether it's a cycle or really deep introspection, and like a lot of it as well is just being able to it forces you to kind of shift your like perception of it, because a lot of the times where I felt like I've been in like just like a really depressed state where I'm just like nothing makes sense to me and all of these things. It's the way you're looking at it. You can depending whether you're if you're looking at it like, okay, this traumatic experience has caused like my life to fall apart, then your life is going to feel like it's falling apart. But if you're looking at it as like this is um, things are being removed, and you're basically being given, it's like being put into I'm trying to think of like an analogy that would explain it. So maybe I'm thinking maybe like a like if you was it's like when you was to maybe finish like primary school or something, and then you get plopped right into a high school, and you don't have any friends there, you don't know any of the
yeah,
teachers, you, it's a new environment, there's new rules, there's different classes, there's different lessons, there's different things, and you're just completely like alienated to it all. um so I think one of the main takeaway, or at least the main tips that I would give to anybody who's going through anything like the Dark Night of the Soul, is to really make it like your mission to change your perspective on what it is, because a lot of the time when you're going through something like that, it's trying to teach you something, and then there's always just a lesson to be taught within it.
oh, that sounds like really good advice.
Yeah. 'Cause it's definitely easy to kind of get sucked into only thinking negative, negative thoughts, and that's why you have to have your journal. You have to journal. You have to have your affirmations. You have to have your practices and your have gratitude, because even just in general, things are not always going to be like easy and smooth sailings. You're not always going to think positively. Like you have to, like I said before, it's like you're having a human experience. You're supposed to experience life. Like you're not, so it's not supposed to be blissful 24/7. Like that would be great for anyone, but maybe that, unless that's like someone's life purpose coming have come down here, which I'm sure many people maybe do, where their only purpose is to come here to just have a really calm, blissful, peaceful life. I'm sure people do get that journey, but with lots of people, it
Mm.
gets really, it can be really tough. And there's lots of things that you have to kind of take and learn throughout it. And there's a lot, it's also conditioning as well. Like one of the, I think we was talking a while back now, but it was around the time where like I'd lost my job out here, and I was like, I was going jogging like in the rain, and I was trying to work on my affirmations again. And and then everyone was asking me like, "Oh my god, like why are you going jogging? Why are you jogging in the rain?" And I was like, "I'm forcing myself to go jogging in the rain because all I've been taught my entire life is that like when it rains, it's a horrible day and it's terrible weather, and like it's cold and it's this and it's miserable." It's like a really common thing within like England. Everyone's gonna, if it's raining, they're like, "Oh, it's a shit day. It's horrible." Blah blah blah. But then that's just your perspective on it, because the reality of it raining and being storming is because the the earth needs the earth needs the nutrition. It needs it to be able to grow and sprout and blossom into and blossom and then give fruits, and it's here to give us life. If we didn't have the rain, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the benefits of the sun, because everything would be completely destroyed. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like it's all about learning to recognize that those really tough and dark moments are not there. It's not there to be permanent. It's not a permanent aspect of your life. Lots of people, when you're going through it, it's really easy to say this is it. It's always going to be gloomy and cloudy and raining, but you need to be able to recognize that those clouds and that rain is allowing you and making you grow and understand, water you and nourish you. So yeah.
a lot of people when they go through the dark night of the soul, they will typically say something like, "I don't want to be here," or "I don't want to do this anymore." Not the Rihanna song, but yeah, like, "I don't want to be here," or
Uh,
"Everything's too difficult." And it's kind of like some starseeds who are longing to go back to a different star system because they feel like Earth is not their home. So that's not all star seeds, but some star seeds, like literally my sister, she would always say to me, "I want to go back to Lyra," because
yeah.
she'd had like maybe like a remote viewing experience where she'd visited this place, Lyra star system. She visited it in her dreams, and
Hmm.
she'd experienced how beautiful it was and how at home she felt there, and ever since she just wanting to go back.
But
But
that's a
the
perfect
point of being a starseed is that a starseed or a star blossom, we're planted on Earth for a reason. Like we all carry our signature, our vibration, and that vibration that we emit to the Earth. We're kind of like keys. We're keys. We bring something to this planet, and if we wasn't here, we we're part of the divine plan. So if we wasn't here, then that energy, that signature wouldn't be there, and the the proper balance would not be able to told, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just important to remember that we are all meant to be here. Yeah, some of us maybe starseeds or star blossoms or whatever, but we, yeah, we're meant to be here, basically.
You know, what you said is, oh,
Anything
are you
that
back?
you want to add to that, Curtis?
You cut for a second. But not 100%. Like that's what I agree. I've been looking um into that a lot because I've definitely had that a lot. Even myself, like myself internally, growing up, feeling like I was, I just did not fit into society. But now I have a better understanding of myself. I understand that, I'm here for a purpose. And a lot of times, like that's what people struggle. A lot of times, people struggle with trying to understand, um, like how the world operates and the part that they play in life. And I got really into watching people have like near death experiences and stuff, because a lot of if you I looked into one where it was a woman. She was dealing she had like really bad like drug addiction like her entire life, and she kept going through like this really really bad state. And then what happened with her was like the same thing, where it was like they flat like died, flatlined, was returned back to where they'd come from, that their home, and they felt content, they felt like at peace, they understood why they came down. They got to look through their life and their past and all of the things. They understood that, and then they learned that before they came here, that a lot of what of their experience and a lot of what they're going through is something that they actually um actually already kind of planned to do before they came down. And there's lots of like stories and stuff like resonate with like the same mission. And I've definitely had a lot of downloads where I kind of understand this now. But a lot of the experiences and the things that you're going through within your life, you're supposed to experience those so that you can move on to understand and move on to into a different place and do specific things within this life. And that can be like a really kind of tough thing to want to obviously return back to when you come back to reality, and you're currently going through a tough time or whatever it is. You're obviously going to want to go back to where it feels like you're in heaven or you're at bliss, but that's not your time. I'm sure we've got plenty of time to go back to the worlds and enjoy them potentially, but we're obviously here for a reason, a purpose. And um, we wouldn't be here if we didn't need to be here. There's things that you have to do and you have to complete. And if you get taken before your time's up, that doesn't mean that you're not going to come back down and have to redo a few things.
Course. On Earth School, yeah, that's the thing about Earth School. It's very difficult, but it's it's like the masterclass of the universe. So if you've come here because you've been been up to the challenge. So if you don't complete it, you're most likely coming back till you do complete it. So get it right the first time, y'all.
And that's the thing. A lot of times people look at that and they're like, "Well, I'm being punished," and it's like you're not being punished, because a lot of the time it's you making that decision as well. Like you wouldn't you wouldn't have come to Earth unless you felt like you could actually go through it. And this might not have been your only life as well. There's so many planets and there's so many different locations and stuff for your experience, but you're here to have a specific experience, learn specific lessons, and then do whatever you have to do within this life. Like I've always been someone who's known from like when I was the youngest age that I've been on Earth many times, like before. And like now I'm here, I'm like, it's so easy to be like, okay, well, this is my last life and I'm done and I'm not gonna make like any mistakes and I'm not gonna mess up, blah blah blah. It's really easy to kind of get into like the mindset of being like, I need to get like the perfect grade. But that's the only side where I'd say that's it, that life really isn't in it, like school in that aspect. You're not doing it to be like graded or get like an A plus at the end of the exam. You're just here to experience certain things, and a lot of the time you're just here to have fun. I feel like sometimes people take it like too seriously. Like it is a game, and sometimes you are just supposed to have fun as well. Sometimes it's here to just you're just supposed to smell the flowers and enjoy the food and listen to the music and dance and party. It's not always about like the grueling lessons that like we have to go through, or like
So
the
true.
the things that we have to experience and feel to like get through life. Like life is supposed to be enjoyed. So if and that's why there's always people always say that like there's heaven and hell as states that you actually experience on earth. If you want to if you if you feel like life is horrible and life is hell, then you are going to experience life being hell. It is going to be hell. It's going to be misery. It's going to be torment. You're going to go through cycles over and over again, and it's going to feel like hell. Or you can look at it from the the perspective of heaven and see the lessons and go with the flow and enjoy the fruits of life and while we have it, because life is genuinely short, but it's just like you it's up to you to whether you want to experience heaven or hell within this life.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next question is, what are some things that you've become more aware of since awakening? So is there anything that stands out? Like, what is something that you notice a lot more now, but you didn't used to notice?
Oh gosh, everything.
Everything.
It's so funny. In fact, it's so funny because I was thinking, I was thinking about this. I'm like, because I'm so different now in comparison to like I don't know, like how I was when we was like 13 and stuff, and I just had like such a specific way of. I still kind of think the same in the way like I kind of have these introspective like thoughts and feelings. I've always been like asking questions and stuff, but I've really like been awakened to a lot of what life is about now, and then a lot of the stuff I don't even like when people ask, I won't even necessarily speak about it, or if I try to speak about it, people don't necessarily like understand as well. Sometimes it can seem a bit like too woo woo, but too crazy.
Mm.
um, but I think maybe the the things that are like super obvious now is like or at least what I've integrated as well, is that there's always synchronicities. The things are always happening, like around me. Those are the things that I notice the most. I recognize that there's multiple matrices. There's the matrix of like the life and how life operates, and then there's your internal matrix as well, with all of the conditionings that you've had like growing up, and then um uh and then there's so much more. Then I can even like expand. Like I've witnessed and I've felt and I've experienced a lot, even just outside of like Earth itself and space and time. Which is why I feel like I always have lots of deep conversations with people when they've had like anytime like I've been around like my friends or whatever, and they've been on some sort of drug that they shouldn't be having, like LSD, and then they have like this experience or whatever, or and like people do it
Yeah.
too, and then like the brain is like opened up to like something they wasn't supposed to understand, and then it's difficult for them to kind of like operate life normally without having those thoughts or seeing things again the same, because I think so, like that's why it's really important to just slowly kind of delve into the world of spirituality, because definitely when I was getting into it, I was like, I want to know everything. I want to know why I've been sent here. I want to know why I've been sent to
Mm.
Earth. I need God to come down and speak to me directly. And and I felt like I've I've had experiences where I've gone, that's too much, and I need to kind of be able to reel it back. So, but now that like I've gotten older, I've experienced a lot of stuff, and I'm in constant like conversation with like the universe. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm ready to like, come in a little bit deeper.
Mm,
And I'm always learning stuff. One of the main things as well that I think I've learned is that like, um, I'm I'm not always right. Sometimes I can think that I've learned something that's really insightful, and I'm like, this is just how things are, and then completely proven wrong. So I've learned to kind of be like, okay, to be more open minded. Not so like this is how things are, and this is how things are not. Sometimes things seem are that way or seem that way, and then they're not the next day.
great
And
answer.
that's really me talking around talking around the subject, but it kind of encompasses it.
Yeah. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about was I recall you said to me a couple of weeks ago that you were a bit like Edward from Twilight. Can you elaborate and give us more insight into this superpower?
That's so funny. Yeah. So one of my main things that I've recognized, and now I understand it even more, especially with like being diagnosed with ADHD and stuff. Is that like it also because it a lot of like my abilities play into having like really good pattern recognition. So, but a lot of what I recognize is that like I can just as soon as I'm in a room or I'm like in connection with someone, I have I can see right through you. Like I know I know exactly the type of person you are. I almost can kind of sense like your thoughts and your feelings. And I was laughing, I think, about that with you because I was like the people who I tend to be interested in a lot is people who I can't read because I'm just like, tell me about yourself and what's this and blah, 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 and I can't like get a read and they're like my bellas, should I say? Because I'm like I can't read you, so I don't know what that is, and then it makes me interested. But a lot of the time, that ability that's really good for my discernment because it allows me to be able to know what people to have in my life and what people to not have in my life because a lot of the stuff is so like I think if you just don't have that I don't know how people operate because I'm like if you don't have that ability no wonder people are surrounded by so many people who have really bad negative intentions but you don't have the ability to see through it like that's not part of my journey within this life because I have that ability to be able to be able to see right through into what someone is actually thinking, and then I get to make the decision to whether I want to continue operating around the person or what or whether, and it helps me navigate situations a lot better. So I think yeah that ability, whatever it is, I feel like it's just to strengthen my discernment. It's like it and it keeps like strengthening as well. Like as I get older, I'm more aware.
Yeah, sounds great. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely feel like I could use some of that.
But I think
I can relate in a way, but I feel like mine's maybe not exactly the same. But I can pick on pick up on people's vibes that they're giving off. Maybe I can sometimes it does feel like I'm like an empath. Like if someone's like going through like something like really
mhm.
severe emotions, then I literally it's like I feel it too. But it's not always like if it's it's hard to explain really. Like if
Well, yeah.
someone's just feeling a little bit happy or a little bit sad, then I might not pick up on it. But if it's like really like like if I see someone crying, it's like I'm not just seeing that person cry, I'm literally feeling them cry.
Yeah. Well, that's also a lot to do with the neurodivergence too, because I'm the same way. I have the that ability to really like sympathize and understand the person, but I because I had to research that years ago. That was like one of my first like realizations as to like one of the gifts of like being an empath. And it's 111. Oh, it's 11:11 actually. But but like that was like one of like the first times where I realized that it wasn't normal, was where I'm just like overly reacting to someone's experience. I think what it was, oh yeah, it was something that Carell was like going through, and I was really like triggered by it, like the way she was triggered by the scenario. And then I'd gone home and I was still angry about it, and I'm there like thinking about it, and I was like, what is that? That isn't normal. I don't think that's normal to be able to kind of like feel like the same way as like another person. And then that's when I looked it up. But I do protect myself from being an empath now. Like anytime I'm around, anytime I don't want to experience what other people are experiencing, I put up a bubble around myself, so I can. That's when I can. So now I can be in more social events without being affected by like other people's energy so much, and I can. But I can also kind of read the energy in the room with it as well. So if the energy, if the vibe goes off in the room, I can still feel it, but I'm not affected by it like strongly, because you got to
Mm,
learn sort of that the bubble, otherwise you're going to be traumatized.
yeah,
And
these
another thing
superpowers.
to say about my gift as well is that sometimes me knowing um uh, of people's intentions, or like what's really going on internally, has negatively affected me a lot too, because a lot of people will won't see something like that. But like for example, in my um previous job, like my manager would be speaking to me or saying whatever, or asking me to do a specific thing, but I know exactly why he's saying or asking me to do this specific thing. And then I've had a really bad tendency in the past to be like, right, this is what I'm going to do because I know that this was your intention, and then completely
Mm,
shock. It completely like shock everybody, and like cause like a lot of like things to like kind of
yeah,
because I'm very aware of like what it is that you're doing, and what people tend to do. Then will either they will act surprised or play stupid, but a lot of it, yeah, it sounds like you're explaining anxiety. You're explaining anxiety. That's a lot of people who struggle with anxiety are really like, are really empaths, because they be in a lot of like social places, and then they're feeling too many emotions all at once. Because there was a period of time where, and it was that time where I was figuring that out, and I was feeling anxious all the time. I couldn't be in social settings anymore. I had to only be by myself. And then I've just learned now to kind of put up a protective shield when I need it. The only time I let like my bubble down is when I'm around friends and family, because I'm just like, I'm fine with feeling what everyone else is feeling, and I know that I'm around people who I'm okay with having an exchange of energy. And then you've also got to be aware of how you feel as well. You've got to know when like you're feeling someone else's energy and what energy is yours. If you can't decipher, it's gonna suck. If you can't decipher it, it's gonna suck. It's gonna feel,
mm,
but you have to learn to be able to put the bubble around you when it's time.
yeah, like shielding. Oh my gosh, shielding is so important.
So important. There's no other. I feel like I wouldn't be able to navigate life if I didn't shield myself. I'd be screwed.
Yeah,
What's that? Unfortunate.
literally. Like I wear crystals, I carry crystals, I would say prayers, say spells, everything. And again, like you were saying, visualizing like a bubble, visualization is very powerful as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with
Visual
that.
really good at like starting it because that's what I had to do first. Because I'm someone who really struggles with the visualization of it because I get a bit too intricate sometimes. When I first was thinking about shielding, I still do it, but like obviously I think about the bubble, but then I'd be like, but how does the bubble look like in the room? Do you know what I mean? Like, does it go around my body or like is it around the bed? Like I'd be like really specific, specific about it. But now it's more like I visualize it, but I feel it more than anything. It's more of like an internal projection almost, where it's just like, okay, I'm in a room with a bunch of people, and then I allow it to come out of me, and then I don't, and then I just allow myself to be able to interact with other people, with someone who's crying or emotional, and I'm able to not feel the same way they're feeling because it'd be too overwhelming for me.
Okay.
Someone said, unfortunately, making money means giving in. A lot of the time, yeah. That's why I've struggled within working in corporations because a lot of people, when it comes to a lot of people making money, there's a lot of, you have to almost forget about empathy in a way, in that kind
Yeah.
of, a lot of people operate from a lower vibration in more powerful places. So it's um, a lot of mind games and emotional turmoil that you have to go through when making money.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Like some of the jobs, like working in the call center,
Hmm.
I've had people literally like crying and screaming. You get all sorts of different people on the phone, and like if you're like a really cold person, and you just like it can. But literally, I literally had my manager. I had my manager at the time telling me that I need to be cold and closed off from
Yeah.
like what from my emotions to do
Mm.
the job. And literally I'm like, I'm a person, how I can't just turn my emotions off and feelings. But
that's
yeah,
but
it's
that's it. But
difficult. But yeah,
that's
it's like what
yeah,
Hillbilly Coins is saying, it's about making money,
yeah. But
not
that's
actually
the difficult part.
validating people's feelings.
Yeah, that's the difficult part about being an empath, just working in normal jobs. Like with, I think with a lot with people who maybe don't have that ability, they're able to turn it off. They're able to just be like, okay, this is what I need to do to make money, or this is what I need to do to be able to kind of move forward or move up the ladder or up the pyramid, and then it's easy to get up there. I say to my friends all the time that if I wanted to be rich and famous, I would have done that years ago if I didn't have a moral compass. But because I have a moral compass and I actually I feel people's emotions, and I'm not making decisions based off of just greed or just lower vibrational things. That's why it's taking me longer to get to where I want to go. But I'd rather that than feel like I've sold my soul, because a lot of the times that's what people mean when I learned that, especially when I was like working in LA and stuff. I finally understood what it meant to sell your soul. It's to kind of become that that cold, like heartless person. You're able to freeze your heart and freeze and just um allow the to operate in a lower vibration to gain more. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what that is. And letting go of a lot of your morals and allowing a lot of negative situations to happen to you, and then yeah, you can get further in life that way.
And then Hillbilly Coin says, life's easier being ignorant because it takes a good man to go home and think about someone else's situation.
Ignorance is bliss.
Mm,
That is.
exactly. It comes easy to some people, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to come very easy for me, and I'm sure it doesn't come easy for you, Curtis, either.
No, I just think that like like it all comes back down to like what we're talking about. Like people are here people are on a specific journey here on Earth. So some people are supposed to operate that way. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are chose specifically to even trigger other people so that they go down a route and have a certain like a specific or like experience in their life. So I know that like I can look at someone and be like, I could never be this just cold person who just doesn't feel anything for other. First of all, I feel like there's something mentally going on anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'm I'm always like I always feel like something mentally is going on there. You need to like go and get therapy and figure that out because there's no way that an actual human being, like a genuine good person, could not be feeling some sort of feeling and emotion towards other people. But that's what happened in my last job. I couldn't take deal with my manager just wanting me to be cold, and I was just I had the most dramatic team of like people, the most dramatic stories, situations, scenarios you can think of, and I'm like, I can only operate from love and empathy. And now I'm happy that with the fact that I'm no longer working in that job because I've allowed all of those people who was working under me to have the job. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have their positions because I would have if I would have listened to my cold manager, they would have been gone. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
sleep at night or and know that you know I made the right decision.
Comment, liked, and subscribed. Oh, thank you. Make sure you give Curtis Charles some love as well.
Thank yeah. I'll be back. I'm eventually going to start doing more spiritual conversations and talking on my channel. I
And
appreciate
the
it.
next question I've got: have you felt like the guidance that comes from spirit is getting louder?
I have I it it changes. I've had lots of times where the guidance is so loud and so clear that I'm just like constantly on like a daily basis operating like happily because I'm just like, oh, this is what I need to do. I know what I need to do, blah blah blah. So there's definitely times where it is like that. The guidance is like super clear. Um, but then it's I get really comfortable I get almost too comfortable with that amount of like attention constantly given to me from the universe, and then when I need to experience something, that's when I have the back and I start to have the push and pull through like life because I'm like, oh, I need to be able to like integrate myself back into reality, and then sometimes the universe will go quiet on me until I learn how to integrate and come back. So I'm it it shifts like I'm getting older and I'm experiencing more things. Like it's becoming more clear. I definitely say it's more clear. And I'm more sure when I'm receiving like a message on I'm getting something, but but it goes through like right now in this period that I'm in, like a lot of it's very quiet. It's like it's still there. I'm like it's like we're still there and still receiving messages, but it's very quiet. But that's because I'm in my Saturn return, and I'm going through a massive like spiritual awakening. I'm going through like my like I'm becoming an adult, so like I'm going through like I'm having to get rid of like the old version of myself and come into the new, and I couldn't really do that if I was just constantly having all of like the messages being really clear, just because I'd be reliant on it. I tend to become reliant sometimes as well.
Yeah, well, when messages are coming through, it's important to, especially if you, I need to formulate it in my head a bit better.
Go for it.
But asking if you want more guidance, then people need to ask more questions from spirit. So it was specific thing that you want to know about, then ask the guidance on that. Ask to be shown it in your dreams, etc.
Yeah,
Or just ask to be shown the sign. Like we all get synchronicities, and
yeah, yeah. I think
synchronicities
that's always
like
been one of
11:11, like when everyone sees 11:11, or I see like 222 and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Like as I was speaking, it was like 1, 2, 3, and then my watch shone. Like right now, it's 1, 2, 3. Um, at the time, it's like 1, 2, 3. A lot of times, like that happens when there's a message that's coming through. Like I've recognized a lot of the times where I'm just kind of speaking or I'm journaling or whatever, and like that pops up. It's more of like confirmation. I think that's one of like the first things that people get into as well when they start to have like a spiritual. That was the first thing for me. Like when I started to kind of awaken more and start to understand more of the spiritual side, it was seeing angel numbers, and I was just like, "What is this?" And it's really easy to be like, "Oh, 1, 1, 2, 3 means this, and 4, 4, 4 means this, and 2, 2, 2 means this." But
Yeah.
that's becomes stressful. It's more about you have to be able to decode it yourself, understand yourself what that message means. Like you will be saying something, or something will be said, or something will happen, and then when you see it, it can be it sometimes it can be confirmation, it can be a warning, sometimes it can be just like um just a sign, or like a message trying to like come through, or like a thought that you're receiving. You have to be able to kind of decode it and understand it, and I've definitely been able to um I've definitely got better at that now. Like if it's always really obvious. Like you've been having a conversation with somebody, and then you're saying something like really specific, and then you look at the time, and then it's that, and you're like, oh, that message wasn't even really coming from me, and it's kind of obvious, or it means something else. But there's lots of different interpretations. But I definitely would recommend like just trying to understand it yourself, or it's not, but it's typically confirmation a lot of the time. But people typically freak out a lot when they're like, "Oh, it's a warning," and they're like, "I saw 2, 2, 2," and people are like, "Oh, that means that's the person for me." It's like, no, it's saying red flag.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you wanted to share? Like, did you want to do any demonstrations?
I'm not sure. I guess what I would advise people would be exactly what like I did, like the is to just have like your spiritual practices. So with me, obviously, I've spoken to you a lot in the past. Like, I get a lot of messages through my dreams, and I'm still kind of like a bit lazy with it because I have so many very vivid, clear dreams messages. Like I'll wake up and I already know like what it meant, but I have a tendency of just like not writing it down straight away. So like I think it's always important to have like to journal first thing in the morning. Like I learned that through like that artist way, to push yourself past like just writing your normal thoughts and allowing you to kind of get sick of writing, even if you're just writing nothing. And I've realized like once I started doing that, I will get messages that almost don't feel like it's me speaking anymore. It's really just like tapped into like eh, unconsciousness almost. Like you just tap into
Yeah.
unconscious, you're getting messages. So I would recommend that. Like like they always say, if you have like a book that's like this size, then you're supposed to do like write like 3 pages first thing in the morning. You're not supposed to like pick up your phone. You're not supposed to like pick up your phone or consume anything or feel a specific way. You just write for 3 whole pages, and then messages have been coming through to me so much that way. And then if I like if I need to know something, or I'm trying to get like an answer for something, I will like verbally ask, or whether I'm praying or whatever, I will ask for it. Sometimes I will wake up and it will come through the journal message, because I'm just like I'm writing, and it will come through that, and I'm like, oh, it's clear. And sometimes I will just hear it as well. Like before I moved down to London, I told you I was like, um I wrote in my journal do I move to no I think I can't remember what I put specifically, but it was something like, oh, do I move to London or should I move to London or whatever, and then or do I move or something like that, and then I woke up in the morning and the first thing I heard was move to London, and I was like, no, and I knew it wasn't me,
But
and I knew it
you
wasn't
did
me.
it.
Want to move to, I didn't want to move to London. Like I was like, I don't want to like go. And then if things will set like always like when it's from the divine as well, it happens really easily. Like I didn't even like try to really come to London. I just happened to land like an interview like that same day where I heard like move to London. I had like an interview email saying, oh, do you want to take this interview like in London, like but tomorrow first thing in the morning. And I'm like, but you don't want to be like no, because that's the universe like putting like a specific, it's literally saying move to London, do this, and then I did that, and then it didn't mean everything was smooth sailings, but it happened purposefully and it happened for a reason. So I definitely say journaling. If you have like dreams, like I have very, very vivid dreams and I get a lot of messages in my dreams. So I'd just say always have like a pen and paper, like first thing in the morning. Um, and yeah, and I guess meditation is good too in terms of receiving messages.
Yeah, so
But
we'll talk a lot what about those things in the next video. So like journaling, shadow
yeah,
work, meditation, like that's a lot of stuff that they're the good sides of they're the good side of spiritual awakening.
yeah,
They're the tools as well that help keep us regulated, help help us to tune into spirit more clearly and without because in a lot of people do use other methods
mm,
for opening the third eye or getting a spiritual awakening. Like there's substance abuse, and
yeah, exactly.
and there's also plant medicine as well. So substance abuse and plant medicine not exactly the same, to be fair. Because I have tried ayahuasca, as in
Mhm.
plant medicine, and there's other people who literally on TikTok, like a few years ago, there was a massive sensation around people buying Moldavite and using that, and then people were saying it was completely ruined their life because the energies of the stone were so strong and they weren't ready for it.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, the Moldavite thing.
I quite like Moldavite, but it's so funny because but that it just shows you like people's it shows you how people are just on different energetic levels. Like literally,
Mm.
when I pick up Moldavite, it doesn't really do that much for me. It but I don't want to sound big headed. It's just I feel like my vibration is more more aligned with it, so it's not such a massive gap. Like when like just Jane Doe or Tom your regular Tom off the street, just someone random who hasn't been putting in all of that spiritual work, picks up a piece of Moldavite, it literally blows their mind and will just completely just rearrange the whole life. And it's just like
But
a mineral from outer space. It
it's
just
more about
shows you like people do use different things, whether it's substances or minerals, but people just need to make sure if they're wanting an awakening to do it in a safe way.
but yeah, it's kind of like what we was talking about essentially anyway, because I feel like the your spiritual awakening is not tough when you're more aligned with what your journey actually is. Because when you're more aligned with your actual journey, you're doing more. You're doing a lot of introspection and a lot of like deep diving journaling, sometimes it doesn't take a massive event for you to kind of to like trigger an awakening, because you understand that this job isn't for me, and this friend isn't for me, or this relationship isn't for me because of A, B, C, and D, and I need to be able to do this to go here and A, B, C. So it's like things like that. What a lot of the time, I think the people who do something like have the modified like Crystal, and they're like, this has ruined my life, it's because you've picked up something that has now removed away all of your illusions that you was holding on really strongly to, and there was a lot of things that you wasn't aligned with, and then this thing is making you recognize that this is what you need to be more aligned to. That's why I was trying to say as well that like my it's like I've had friends who have tried like drugs too young, at like a young age. Like they've had like LSD when they was like 14, 15, and then
Hmm.
it literally opens up your mind to a completely different understanding of like the world and life in that you've ever experienced before, and then they never fully recover from that. And it's like and you shouldn't be forcing yourself into a spiritual awakening, because all that's going to happen is you're going to jump into the deep end, and you're going to be completely terrified of that world, because of course it's scary. Like your spiritual journey should look like you you know, putting on your swimming trunks, dipping your toe into the water, testing the water, testing the temperature, putting your foot in, going in, staying in the shallow end, maybe learning how to swim in the shallow end, then
Mm.
go in deeper. It shouldn't be you just like running off of the cliff and diving into the deep end and then being like, "Oh my god, this is terrifying! What did I do? There's waves, there's whales, there's sharks, there's mermaids." It's like, oh well.
Don't make me laugh.
It's like, oh well, you shot yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? And now you're going to be a little bit more apprehensive to like delve into it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with also doing those things as well. Like I feel like I'm even getting to a place within my spiritual journey where I'm more open to trying more different routes and looking into different things, because I feel called to do something, to called to do it. So if I'm feeling like, okay, I'm more called to do it, I'm more in the mind space to do it, then I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing it in a healthy way, as opposed to just being like, I'm gonna do it because I want to feel like I'm having fun, or I'm just gonna do this because everyone else is doing it.
Oh God,
I'm not
no.
that
I would
way.
recommend for you, if you do want to try some plant medicine, I'd recommend trying happy
Yeah.
or rape or happy. It comes from South America. It's like a plant medicine that administer it through your nose. It's in like this pipe.
Ooh.
It's like it's a powdery snow, and it's in a pipe, and then they stick it up your nose, and then they literally blow the dust up your nose. So I'm not gonna lie, it feels like you've been punched because it's such a shock, because literally the dust
Oof.
is in the pipe and they stick it up your nose, and they just go like and blow it up your nose, and then gosh, it's like you've been punched, but at the same time, like you just like your whole energy system just opens up like instantly, and it's not in a dangerous way either. It you just like, especially when you do it outside in the woods or something like that, you just like so connected. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like the high that people get on like those the hallucinogenics, but it's without the hallucinogens, because it's not the the only other thing with it is it's a bit of purging. The plant medicine, it does make you purge a little bit, so you kind of, because the dust goes up your nose, you then have to like then spit it out and purge it and release it into the air.
My gosh, I
So
don't know how you manage.
it's maybe not something for everyone, but I would recommend you trying it at least once.
Oh gosh, I can't believe you even did that. To be honest, I'm funny about anything going up my nose. That's my issue. That's why I don't go near any of that other that white substance. I'm always like, no,
Oh
you can
god,
keep.
yeah, I'd never go near anything like that. But plant medicine is a completely
Yeah, no,
different story.
yeah, plant medicine is different, but I definitely want to attempt do things like ayahuasca in the future. Like I want to go to a proper site load. You know what I mean? Like I was reading on Will Smith's like experience with it, and I'm like, I want
Will
Will Smith.
Smith had ayahuasca. I did not know that.
Yeah, I read his book. His experience was really cool actually. He spoke about how like he went um he was kind of like zapped into like the universe, and he could see all of like the galaxies and all of the stars, and he felt so like
Wow.
pulled away from like so far away from Earth. And then he had a like a female like um spirit like speaking to him, like guiding through, and then he was like looking at everything, and he was like, wow, like this is all so beautiful and blah blah blah. And then they said that like the guide was laughing at him, and it was like, this is you. And then he allowed him to kind of get over like the the feelings he felt about like constantly needing validation from like the women in his life and other people in his life to be aware that he is basically the universe and galaxies and all of the things. So his perspective was really cool. But then so many people have so many different experiences with it as well. So it's so interesting. It's a bit scary because I'm like, people have some scary, some
Exactly.
scary.
I have heard like some people do have really bad trips.
Yeah, like I've come across people saying that like they went to hell for eternity and stuff like that, and I'm like, excuse me. So it's
But
crazy.
thing is, like, people just need to respect stuff like that. When it comes to plant medicine, like ayahuasca, it's not like taking LSD, but apparently ayahuasca is a lot stronger than LSD.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't
So it's
surprise me.
more stronger. But it's interesting because another thing about it is, again, it's like a purgative. So the thing made it that ruined it for me was because it's a purgative. So once you drink it, that you then it then makes you want to
Yeah,
throw
vomit.
up. But for me, I thought I didn't realize that it it's going to make you throw up in like a few hours. I thought it was going to happen like there and then or something. So
Well,
I waited for about maybe 3 hours before I actually threw up, and it because I was just waiting the whole time. It just kind of ruined the experience for me.
no, wait, did you think you was just gonna take it and then throw up instantly?
Well, not instantly, but just a lot sooner than that.
No way, because I feel like with that they throw up more so when they've had the after you've had the experience, because it's obviously you're purging it out of your system because you've experienced whatever you've gone into it to kind of experience.
Yeah, because the whole point of it is the whole point of it is like it's a cleansing detox, like an extra strong detox. 'Cause it
Hmm.
comes in, it'll like then take out any badness and any impurities. So if there's
Hmm.
any like any other drugs in your any drugs in your system, anything like that, it will help detox.
Yeah, no, it's
But
interesting.
like, I would definitely recommend what's it called? Happy, because it's
Hmm.
a lot more gentle and it doesn't last for as long. Like with ayahuasca, that I think we had like 5 hours before it was like safe for you to like then leave the building because
Hmm.
because it can stay in your system for that long. But like if you're taking something like happy or rapé, then the effects of that are literally going to be for maybe 20 minutes to half an hour at the most, so it doesn't happen for that long, and not an hallucinogen.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to consider trying them eventually. I think the only thing I've been willing to do or being called to feel like I should do next is truffles. That's the only thing that I've been like, okay, sure. Because I was
Truffles.
with mushrooms.
Oh,
You
shrew. Oh,
it's
duh.
called truffles in Amsterdam. um, but yeah, no, because that essentially just more of like I guess the similar way. The only reason I'm wanting to do something like that is because they have more of they show more of like the actual the visualization of stuff. I do want to have the like the illusion side of it because I feel like I understand um a lot of things just from what I've received from the universe. I understand a lot of like how things operate, but I'd like to. I think what would be difficult, or what's always been difficult for me, is the my actual perception of reality. I'm very much used to reality looking the way it looks, and apparently, like this is like really big, like a really basic setting. Like we look like really poor pixelated. Like our reality is like really low, like pixelated reality. Like this is not even the closest to what like true existence, true life is. So that's why I'm kind of interested in going down that route because I'm just like I'm interested to see what it's like. But then people always say once they've experienced it, coming back to reality, it's really hard to kind of integrate back into reality because they recognize that we look kind of silly. We almost look like 2D like cartoon characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's right.
Right, I'm just gonna have a quick look to see. I don't think I've missed anything. Was there anything else that you wanted to say, Curtis?
No, I actually use like majority of my notes, so I don't think there's anything um that I can think of unless you have anything to ask.
So yeah, the only other thing that I was gonna mention really was like the whole connection with suffering,
Mm,
like enlightenment, like the whole reason why a lot of us have such a hard time and we realize that life life is hard, and the whole point of it is it kind of goes back to the whole a lot of the a lot of the traditions will remind you of like suffering, and the different traditions actually, because if you look at Buddhism, that teaches that suffering leads to enlightenment. But if you look at like ancient Egyptians, they
mhm,
they were using plant medicine. They'd use blue lotus to reach awakening and enlightenment rather
yeah,
than having to rely on suffering to get them there.
yeah, yeah. No, it is interesting.
I'd much rather take the blue lotus way, but
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 yeah,
life is what it is. It is difficult, and we we're here, like you were saying, we're here for a reason, and we've got our soul contracts of the lessons that we wanted to learn in this life, and we just we should just do our best to learn them, so we don't have to come and do it all over again.
yeah. I would definitely just say that like um, it's really important as well to because I think obviously once you've woken up to the fact that's why lots of people want to skip ahead and do like the kind of the more the medicine type of stuff and just kind of get it over and like and done with. But a lot of the time, what that does is take you a lot. I think at least for some people as well, I've seen them. It takes them through like this or like another cycle of like lessons that they need to need to learn as well. Like I think a lot of times people will do that in terms to get the suffering out of the way, but a lot of I just think a lot of what it is not just the lessons as well. I think you're gonna learn regardless, but I just think it's really important to remember to actually just enjoy life and experience it. Like the life is supposed to be just experience. That's it. Like I think a lot of people will be really disappointed to kind of go through to do a lot of spiritual like practice and a lot of spiritual work and try to live life in a specific way and try to learn like the lessons. And I've caught myself in this trap like loads of times and then get to the end of life just for them to be like, oh, I really should have just been having some fun. Like I don't know why I was overthinking so much and just doing all of
Mm,
this and really
yeah.
maybe a lot of like a lot of like what you should be doing in life is raising the vibration. How do you raise the vibration? And well, how do you do that? Is by enjoying life, enjoy dancing, singing, and loving and laughing and sharing experiences and just genuinely enjoying life. It doesn't always have to. You don't have to concentrate so harshly on the lesson. That's something that I've been having to learn a lot. I think it's really important to recognize like what patterns and stuff that you're going through, but and learn to kind of deep dive and follow whatever your aligned path is. Like you're here for a reason and a purpose, but it's not always that serious. Like and because that's the trick that that's the matrix that you can get caught up in because like that's the matrix of life. That's what most people think when they when most people think, oh, if I get a release from the matrix, I won't have to like participate in society. But society is designed in a way to make you distracted. Like you're going to have a job that is really causing you to wake up at a specific time and do things a specific way and you have to pay the rent and you have to pay the bills. And I was laughing to myself even I was just like shopping, I was trying to like find certain stuff for my house, and it's always in those type of small moments that I recognize like how aware like spiritually aware I am, because I just like laugh at the fact that I'm just like in a shop like looking for specific items. Like it's just ridiculous. Like there's certain things that you do is just a bit like ridiculous and a bit silly. It's like you can look at life like it is a bit funny, like it is just a bit just like messing about. You get caught up in the game of life a lot. But it really isn't that serious. Like you don't have to drive yourself crazy just because your life isn't going a specific way, or you're not like or you don't have the house, or you don't have like the money, or this. None of those things even matter anyway. So like when you when you die, there's obviously going to be something underneath the surface of it all, and it's just that you're supposed to be a loving person and you're supposed to share those connections with other people. It's not so serious all the time, but people get caught up in the just the matrix of life, or matrix of like society. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to like Matrix, and again, like you were saying about overthinking and people getting caught up in all of the wrong things, like in Buddhism, they teach to they teach us to stop wanting. They want us to stop wanting things because when I think when Buddha was reached for Buddha to reach his enlightenment, he tried a few different ways. He tried living as as a pauper. So he tried living as a beggar, living that way because
Hmm.
he was originally very wealthy and then he rejected his wealth and was like, I'm gonna throw away all of that wealth, all of that money and everything. I don't need it to be a spiritual person to reach enlightenment. So he threw it all away and he lived his life as a beggar, but he still didn't manage to reach enlightenment. So the 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 key that he learned was to find a middle path. So you don't have to be a beggar and you don't have to be the wealthy person to find enlightenment. It's about finding a middle path and not you don't have to deprave yourself of things, but at the same time you've got to try to figure out
Like,
a way to stop wanting so much and stop like
mhm,
being so attached to the physical world. It's
yeah.
about finding that middle path.
I think that's a lot of what when you have go through your spiritual awakenings, that's a lot of what the lessons teach you as well. Like I've I've fought with that so many times. Like but that's what I think one of the things where you can really concentrate on that is it's like what the 10 sins or something. Was it eight or how many sins are there? Something, what did they say? There's like lust and
What
greed.
which are you still talking about Buddhism or are we talking about Egyptian?
I'm just talking like I'm fusing them all together because I'm like that that's what I've taken a lot from both religion and like Buddhism and like Christianity and stuff. There's always like
Yeah,
this focus. There's always like a really clear focus of like, oh, this is how you need to be able to live your life to experience like the right kind of life. But the messages kind of all interconnect throughout all of them, throughout like Buddhism and
yeah,
Christianity. And it's just to not to be too consumed within one specific area like lust or greed or
yeah,
gluttony. It's like there's just supposed to be a balance, and then you can't like tip over too much to the other side. You know what I mean? Just because you feel
yeah,
like you're greedy, whether that's like one in so much and everything, that doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have anything. Do you know what I mean? Because then you've tipped over to the other side, and then you start to struggle from the aspects of that. It's just about being able to find like literally a balance in life and not get caught up too much into the I guess the realities of everything. Because it's really easy to, especially in this world, to be like, I just want to have a lot of money and a big house or multiple houses and a nice car and a relationship and a marriage, and because that's how everything has been set up for everybody to want the same thing. But it's just like that's not what life is about. Once you get when like look at the people who have received it, like they typically just struggle so much because it's like okay, they've got the money, they've got the houses, and they've got the relationships, and then they're like, why do I still feel like I'm missing something and something still needs to happen? Is because yeah, because that's not your purpose in life, isn't to fulfill getting the mansion or the money and the relationship and the image that's been curated for you. It's about learning how to genuinely experience life and from a balanced way and from a way that actually fulfills you. Because I always recommend people to people all the time. I'm just like, just do what you love. Like life is really short, so stop trying to like live up to the image that's been given to us on like the platter. Like just go what do you want to do? Like if you didn't know about like um getting the degree or going to school and getting the degree and getting married and having kids and getting the house and getting the car, what would you actually want to do? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then a lot of people are just like they think it's silly to be like, oh well, I've always wanted to just be like an actor, or I've always wanted to be like a singer, or like or paint paint art and stuff like that. And it's like that's what you're supposed to do. And it's easy for you to be like, oh well, that's not going to bring me a lot of money, and that's not, if that is what you're supposed to do. Watch how everything just aligns. Like the universe will align for you to do what you're supposed to do on Earth. It isn't about following like the the norms of society and life. That's how it's been designed for us to think, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing here.
Living in alignment is very important.
Hmm.
It's just, again, when you're in alignment, you're able to then fulfill the life lessons and complete the divine plan.
Hmm.
So when you're out of alignment, then that's just gonna bring up more problems, and you're just gonna get
Yeah,
from further
yeah.
away from completing the divine plan and
Hmm.
reaching your enlightenment.
Yeah. Well, when you're more out of when you're really really out of alignment, that's when the spiritual awakening is its hardest, because it's just like you're not aligned, you're not doing what you're meant to be doing. So now these things have to have to happen to you and come into place so that you can rejoin your actual aligned path. And that's why a lot of the spiritual awakening happens anyway. Let's put this up into
And
right.
Hillbilly says, I came back, but I agree as long as you can support yourself and do what you love doing, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters, literally.
Exactly.
It,
Exactly. So, yeah, so
you're good.
self care
Yeah,
is very important. So, looking after yourself, then you're able to then look after others as well.
yeah. Well, that's been my So I can tell you now, because I mean, I guess I'm starting to go with the flow more in my current spiritual awakening, but I'm recognizing that a lot of what the turmoil and the things that I've had to do has forced me to take. Anytime I feel like I'm going through like a massive spiritual awakening, it's because I'm not taking care of myself. And then what will happen is it's like, okay, you need to recognize how you need to take care of you. You should be taking care of yourself. You should be eating, um, literally loving yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to enjoy the other fruits of life, because you've not learned yet. And now this time period, like what I've been going through in my most recent spiritual awakening, has just been about me doing more introspection, going to get therapy, getting diagnosis, seek out type what medication might work for me, making sure that I'm doing the things that I enjoy. And that ultimately is going to lead me to a more fulfilled life, as opposed to constantly living life on and have to do this, and I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and I want this, and I need this.
Yeah, getting to know yourself. There's
Mhm.
a lot of people will want to see someone else, that they'll see someone famous and be like, oh, I want to be like that person, so I'm gonna
Uh,
put on a mask so I become more like that person. But
uh,
then in doing that, then they lose their authentic self. And
yeah,
like the ancients have been telling us for very long time, that we need to know ourselves. That is literally the key. Know thyself.
yeah, yeah. I'm learning that now, definitely more than anything. But that's a very common thing, especially in this day and age. We're obsessed with comparing ourselves to other people, and that's just like
Exactly.
the biggest pitfall, to just be constantly comparing yourself to other people, or idolizing other people. Life is about you, literally. Like, to everyone, life is literally about you and your own personal journey. But like, you go through the lessons to get back to that place. Sometimes it just takes people a lot longer to recognize that life is short. It's about you and the things that you want. It's really easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing or what's the norm, especially when you're younger. Like when I was younger, when you're in like high school and stuff, you want to be like everyone else. You want to wear what everyone else is wearing. You want to fit in. You want to be able to go to the same parties as everyone else. You want to be able to have like what the biggest celebrities wearing at like that time period, and if you don't, then like you're a weirdo, and like that is how things are kind of set up. But really coming, really being fulfilled and really being happy is just really getting to understand yourself more and just becoming understanding more of yourself, like your true self. It's really just a big journey to meeting yourself again. That's all that really happens.
I feel like we've been streaming for a long time, so I
We
think
have.
we should probably bring it to a close very soon. But I do want to pull at least one card.
Oh yeah, go for it.
My blessed with cards. Let's see what dragon energy is around us today. Let's see.
Dragon
And
energies.
around this topic, like, so what dragon energy can help us on our spiritual journeys through our awakenings, especially if any of us are going through spiritual psychosis or dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
What guidance? So golden Atlantean dragon.
That's
Golden
cool.
Atlantean dragon. I'll read you what it says. It says the golden Atlantean dragon helps you remember the wisdom of golden Atlantis. Awaken, bring back your knowledge, gifts, and talents. Reclaim your mastery. Literally, it has awaken in the message. Wow,
Yeah,
you can even see that.
that's good.
But I love when you get clarification like that. Remember
Oh,
the wisdom of golden Atlantis. Bring back your knowledge, gifts, and talents. Reclaim your mastery. Wow, it's just reminders that
mm-hmm.
just the reminder that we are all masters and we're all if you we all have a higher self basically is what I meant meaning to say. We all have a higher self and we need to stop looking at time as sort of linear because there's different quantum realms where we're already the higher self or or we're already enlightened and we just need to tap into that and just remember that we have a higher self and that we can connect to it and reclaim reclaim that reclaim that magic or those gifts, that energy, that strength from ourselves.
Yeah. That would be a good thing to get into next time as well, because that really leads a lot into like manifesting. I feel like everyone always wants to get into manifesting. A lot of it, a lot of it, a lot of the time is really just you tapping into that version of yourself. Because not, yeah, like you said, there's nothing is linear. Like it's happening now. Like everything is happening now at this point. Like everything you will ever experience or ever have experienced is all happening in the current like present moment, on top of the experiences that you want to go through or the locations that you want to be in. So it's important. And I pulled my angel card for you to see
Ooh,
to see what it's saying. It says sacred plan. I can't remember now. Let me see.
what was the message? Sorry.
So the card is sacred plan. Can you see? So
Wow, I like that one.
it says this card doesn't represent the plan that God has for your life, more the plan that comes to fruition based on your intentions and your highest good. You have been given the incredible gift of free will, and therefore your thoughts, deeds, and actions and intentions are in some way going out into the universe and curating the experiences, opportunities, and energies that are flowing in and out of your life. When this card when this card appears, you are being encouraged to move into a state of surrender, where you recognize that yes, your intentions have an impact on the creation of your life, but how those intentions unfold is not down to you, but in the hands of God. The divine plan is your intentions unfolding in a way that God and the universe, or God or the universe, feels is for your growth and highest good. So know that every experience that you have been through in your life has been um, a way maker on your journey towards growth and expansion, and your angels are acknowledging your growth now. The extended message is if you are trying to force a plan into action, the angelic guidance is to back down and trust that um, the greater good often, and trust in the greater good. Often, when something isn't happening for us, we're frustrated, but that's only because we don't see that our perfect plan is unfolding. When our ideas or plans go wrong, trust that the universe has a greater plan for you, and that the greater plan isn't something that has already been chosen for you. It's more of a culmination of all of your life's intentions, prayers, and actions washing back towards you with opportunities and experiences. It says, so calling your angels to light up the path ahead, and then you may feel that you are facing the unknown, but know that you are always guided and protected. So that really kind of speaks on a lot of the
Wow.
kind of stuff we're discussing anyway.
There's really beautiful messages there at the end. I feel like they're definitely tying well. They're highlighting literally what we've both been saying.
No, literally. And that's funny that that came through as well, because this card, before we started, this is what I was like. I want to explain what I've and what's on that. It's funny. I think this is the exact card I was thinking of before I started, because I was like, I need to explain to people it's like you're co-creating, and sometimes things don't go the way you plan, and then you start to get like worked up about it and blah blah blah. But it's just like it's all part of like your sacred plan, and this was exactly what I was thinking. So it makes complete sense that this came out. This came
Wow.
out because that's literally what I was trying to say within it. So thank you.
Bring back your knowledge and gifts. Mm.
Because yeah, so I think
So
that's
yeah,
what
I'm
a lot.
very happy with that stream. I feel like it's been kind of long, but we've
Very.
had some really good points in there. A
Yes,
lot of good points in there,
definitely. It's been interesting. Thanks for
and I'm looking forward to part two.
definitely same. Thanks for dragging me along, cause
Lol. And I'm looking forward to watching this back and to being able to hear it all properly.
and then like, you've been like, oh, I should have said this, but I couldn't hear.
Because I feel like you've probably said something and I've said something stupid back because I didn't hear you properly.
No, you see, anyway, I'm sure there'll be lots of like nuggets and messages within it.
But yeah, now we know that we can do this, so we can do it a lot more.
Yeah, no, definitely,
But
cause
we've definitely got part two in the pipe work.
I'm down anytime, cause just let me know. But
And
thanks for
thank
having me.
you, Curtis, for coming to the Lyran Healer channel
No
and
worries.
bringing some of your magic with you.
Anytime, love. Thanks for having me. I'll be happy to return at any point, love. Just let me know.
Fantastic, because we'll sending you lots of love and blessings. Night, night, cuz.
Night, God bless, love. Sending you blessings too.
Bye.
Hey.
Goodbye.